Joining us live outside the courthouse, someone who needs no introduction, Gloria Allred is with us. And Gloria, you're here representing Halyna's mother, sister. Tell us who you're representing here and why you're at this trial. And who's in this photo?
Yes, I'm representing the mother of Halyna Hutchins, Olga, her father, Anatoly, and her younger sister, Svetlana.
Who is right here, beautiful woman.
This is Halyna, may she rest in peace. And this is Svetlana.
We heard Svetlana at the sentencing of Halyna Gutierrez.
Yes.
We heard from mom, too. It was clear the pain and that they have endured, which makes sense. This is the loss of a life in such an unspeakable manner. It's such a horrible accident. How are they doing, and how difficult is the communication going? I know they can't be here.
They can't be here, even though they'd like to be here, because they live in Ukraine, in Kyiv, as you know. Children's Hospital was just bombed in Kyiv, and there are frequent bombings. But they would have liked to have been here. Olga came back because she wanted to place flowers on the grave of Halyna on the anniversary of her death. And she had to go through 4 countries in order to get to Hollywood, where Halyna is buried at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But she did it, and she got here and placed the flowers. I was with her that day.
Are you the eyes and ears for the family?
I'm one of the attorneys for the family.
Right, but so, here and are you reporting back to them, I guess?
Yes, we are. I'm going to try to be in communication with them this weekend. Not only do they live in a war zone, but sometimes when we're speaking with them, they have to stop and go to a bomb shelter and then come back and finish our discussion after they come back from the bomb shelter. And also, they don't speak English, but we do have a translator on our legal team who speaks Ukrainian and Russian. And they're in different time zones. So communication is not easy, but we have it, and we are committed to them, and we are committed to Halyna. And having her voice heard, I'm her victim's rights attorney in this criminal proceeding. We also represent them in a civil case against Alec Baldwin and a number of the producers. And we just have refiled that case in New Mexico for loss of consortium, meaning a loss of their relationship with Halyna, which was a very close one. And of course, it's very disturbing that Alec Baldwin, even though I've urged him publicly, which I never should have had to do, to at least contact the mother, the grieving mother, and say, I'm sorry that this happened. I don't care if he would say this was an accident, even though, of course, it's charged as a crime, not as an accident. But he's never had the decency to do that. Never had the decency to even have his attorney contact me, knowing that I represent her, and say, can we arrange a call with the mother? And I would have a translator. He could have a translator on the phone. It's just a decent thing to do. It's not legally required.
Sure.
In the defense argument the other day, in the opening, I should say, which is a statement, not an argument, the defense lawyer said that Alec contacted the family after the incident. Well, I think the parents are part of the family. I think the younger sister is part of the family. He has never contacted any of them, even though he's the one who had the gun in his hand that had a live bullet. And he says, of course, he never pulled the trigger or didn't intend to pull the trigger, whatever his latest story is about that. And it doesn't matter. The bullet came out of the gun and hit and killed their daughter and their beloved sister. And so it's just disturbing to me as a mom, as a grandmom, that he never had the human decency to do that.
If Alec Baldwin was on trial for being an SOB, the state might have a better chance. What do you say to people who say this is a civil case, that this isn't criminal action by Alec Baldwin because of the armor, because of the first assistant director in place whose job it was to ensure the safety on the set?
Well, this is a criminal case. He's charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Oh, it is, but what should it be, I guess, is the question.
Well, there certainly, has been found, the grand jury has found that there's enough evidence to charge him, and he is charged. And my client, Anatoly, Halyna's father, feels that everyone who might have been responsible for the death of his daughter should have to face the consequences. So we'll see what the jury decides. I'm an officer of the court. I have respect for the jury. But all I can say is, from what I've seen so far, there's certainly sufficient evidence to hold a trial. By the way,
Will the family be disappointed if Alec Baldwin walks out of this courthouse with a not guilty and basically being exonerated? Or do they just want the process to go through and they're pleased with that?
Well, they do want to learn the truth about what happened to their daughter. And they learned some of it through the criminal trial of Halyna Gutierrez, who was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And as you indicated earlier, you heard the victim impact statements. We did videos for Olga and for Svetlana, and read a statement for the dad, for Anatoly, at the sentencing hearing for Hannah. But they only learned partial truth through that. And they will learn more through this trial. And that's why I'm here, to communicate the evidence that the prosecution is putting on and the defense and their position. But I do think that, the defense argument that somehow that this has to be, he didn't have the intent to kill her, that's not necessary for this crime, as was pointed out in court yesterday by the prosecution.
And nobody believes he tried to kill Halyna Hutchins.
Yeah, but all the prosecution has to prove is, of course, that negligent handling of a firearm, or that he acted without due caution or circumspection. And the prosecution, of course, intends to show reckless behavior by Alec Baldwin.
And is it reckless for him to, because the defense says he's following the directions of Halyna and of Joel Souza. He is, he didn't bring the live round onto the set.
I think I heard that in the
open
Holocaust trials, right? Just following orders. And somehow that he doesn't have any responsibility for safety. There's going to be a prosecution expert, as the prosecution asserted in their opening statement, that will state that anyone who takes a gun and points it directly at a human being and has to assume that it is loaded.
Even on a movie set?
There's no exception for movie sets. There shouldn't be any. The
defense says there is. Alec Baldwin is exempt from the normal practice of gun safety because he's got two people running around with him doing it for him. It would be, let's say, I don't check the weapon because my assistant that I have hired, he checks the weapons for me.
Again, we'll see what their response is to that assumption. And, every human being, and, my guess is Alec Baldwin is one of them, has a duty of care to other human beings, not just to themselves, not just to making a movie. There are other people on that movie set who matter, like Halyna Hutchins, the cinematographer, like the director, Joel Souza, who will testify, and he was injured by that bullet that went through from Alec Baldwin's gun, that went through Halyna, and then injured Joel Souza. And we saw both of them on stretchers yesterday, medics treating them on the really heartbreaking video that was shown. I was so glad that Olga was not here to see the last photos of her daughter on a stretcher being carried out, placed in an ambulance, and then later you see a helicopter landing, and she was taken in a helicopter to a hospital, and of course didn't survive. So that would have been probably too much for Olga. She probably would have had to run.
You were in the courtroom. Was the jury impacted by that? Did you notice?
I can't tell, but I do see, and I'm sitting very close to the jury, that they are intensely listening to, some taking notes of what is being said. I have never seen so much video in a trial as I'm seeing in this one, and the video is very, very powerful as well.
Yeah, disturbing, for sure. There's a child actor in this case. What if the child actor had been the one with the loaded weapon and accidentally killed someone? Would that child be responsible?
You know, that's a little more difficult question. Depends on how old the child is, I guess. But we'll let, experts opine on that. But all I want to say is there are a lot of people on that set. They matter. Celebrities, actors are not the only ones who matter. And I totally disagree with SAG-AFTRA that somehow Alec Baldwin is not responsible. I've been a member of SAG-AFTRA for many, many years, and I just think we all owe a duty of care to those around us. Alec Baldwin is a very experienced actor.
He is.
He's had guns in his hands in other movies. He knows the rules, and
we had a guy on.
The prosecution alleges that he violated them.
We had a person in a special that we did for Court TV, Scott Rasmussen. He was an armorer, and he made the point, if this scene in the church was Alec Baldwin taking his own life, he would have checked that weapon before pulling the trigger. Do you believe that?
I don't know what he would have done, but for some reason, he didn't check the gun. What if it was a member of his own family? Would he have checked the gun before he pointed it at any of them? At any children that he has?
That's the state's argument, right? That's the state's argument, right? That he had disregard for others, and knowingly put people in danger via his conduct. Defense adamantly disagrees with that.
Well, of course they do. My guess is they would rather not have had him do the interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC, in which he said he never pulled the trigger. I think they're going to try to walk that back, and already have been trying to walk that back. But we'll see what the prosecution has to put on.
Gloria Allred, as always, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And have you ever want to check out a great documentary on Netflix, Seeing Allred? You'll have a different appreciation for this woman who's been at it a very, very long time.